at SAFM Radio and at Mesh Constant on SAFM.
We're going to continue with our travels around the country, and Willy Seyama, who's the founder and CEO of eNitiate Integrated Solutions, recently wrote an article that I thought was kind of interesting around how do we look at engaging with people around stories of the country and that. And he focused on how to build communities of influencers from within. Willy, thank you so much for joining us as always.
Thank you for inviting me, Sis Mesh.
So, you wrote such a fascinating story about how we look at influencer marketing. And I've always been quite resistant to that term influencer. I know it's like massively important in many marketing processes, but I often wonder if it really works as it does. And you did this interesting thing is you broke it down as to the kinds of influencers there are in the world. Talk us through that.
Thank you so much indeed. We have been writing about influencer marketing for years now, being a 12-year digital performance marketing company that does work on the continent. And part of what we do really is put out articles on various insights about digital marketing, as it were. So one of the things that has been troubling me lately is how we use influencer marketing as brands. And one such, when you hear the word influencer marketing, for many brands, the first thing that comes to mind is, I need to find them. They are out there. Without thinking, I've built a community as a brand. Can I look from within to find people who may help me as a brand to basically, extend reach, get affinity going, and ultimately, obviously, increase consumption of the brand, as it were. So I looked at KZN Tourism specifically for this purpose, to kind of say, okay, right now, KZN Tourism across the various social networks has got a fair size of communities from Instagram all the way to Facebook. If KZN Tourism was to use influencer marketing, which it was in the first few months of the year, they had Zozi Twinsie visiting, they had Casper Nyovest visiting, they had Unati Ngai visiting. So if they were to be using their own influencers to basically spread the word, how would they be doing it? And I went and did analysis of their community, their communities, as it were, and found that they actually do have people of influence who are already following them. And yet they were not using those very people, the likes of Miss Lelo B, who is one of the well-known podcasters in the space of travel. If they could be engaging the likes of Miss Lelo B, how much more value could they be getting? Because there's already a relationship in place, which can then be extended for purposes of achieving whatever goals that they're looking at. And looking through Tourism KZN's written articles, they are about trying to attract more visitors into the province, which is something that all the tourism boards are looking at the moment. We know that tourism was adversely affected by COVID-19, as it were.
So let me just, Willy, I want to just take it very briefly into another space, and that would be this.
Yes.
Is that when we talk about an influencer, we're talking about, someone who is good at storytelling. Well, we hope they're good at storytelling, because that's really what they have to do. The second question, of course, is we go, yes, they're an influencer because they have 6 million followers. But actually, they may not be the kind of influencer that we need. So I must say, I feel no desire to follow someone who's got 6 million followers because I know they're not talking to me. Whereas if I follow someone like maybe Lorenzo Davids, Urban Low, we had him on the show last week, and he did this wonderful piece. He's been traveling around the country taking photographs in the Western Cape and Eastern Cape. Now, if I follow him, I get a much deeper sense of engagement. So I suppose the question that many people are asking around this is, do you have to have loads and loads of followers on social media in order to be an influencer?
That's an interesting question, Sishmish. I called it the shiny object, kind of marketing, which unfortunately tends to happen a lot.
Yeah.
There are 3 criteria that brands should be using. Unfortunately, we can't discount the aspect of the number of followers, because that is the first metric that you see when you open anybody's Twitter profile.
Yeah.
And interestingly, Jack Dorsey was interviewed on a TED Vancouver in 2019, and he spoke to this, saying that it unfortunately is driving the wrong behavior, but that's what they have, because as brands, it's the first thing that we see. The second criterion, though, has got to be engagement rate, which speaks to the level of engagement that one's followers have to one's content. Okay, that's the second criterion. The third criterion is relevancy, and I made an example in one of my many insights, as we call them at eNitiate. I made a reference to the association that Testic, at that stage anyway, was having with Basi, Kumalo, and Somizi as their influencers. And the point about it was saying Somizi is most relevant for Testic because he had a cooking show and he had a cookbook out. But Basi Kumalo, she's very influential in other circles. But is she influential from the perspective of helping Testic achieve its goals? I wasn't sure about that. So your question speaks to the fact that you are about following people who are relevant to topics of your interest. So relevancy is quite important. And with it, we are then talking to the fact that in addition to relevancy, you must also be engaged with the content that is of interest to you, because brands are looking for that. Without a level of engagement, then it means that a particular brand won't be able to extend its reach, because engagement has got a direct influence on reach.
Absolutely.
So those 3 criteria are important, really, and brands tend to focus more on number of followers than they do on engagement rate and relevancy. Just because Basi is very big on the likes of Twitter, same as Bonam Matiba, same as Trevor Noah, and you can keep going. We actually published a top 10 celebrity or celeb list, if you choose to call it, on our blog not so long ago. If you start looking at numbers alone, you miss out on these 2 criteria, which are engagement and relevancy.
So
And
let's actually leave it there and say let's not look at numbers alone, but also look at those who evoke emotions, those who post content that is relevant, that makes you think about it, that makes you want to do something differently. Bra Willy Seyama, founder and CEO of eNitiate Integrated Solutions.